All right, good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to the regularly scheduled Taber Town Council meeting for April the 8th, 2024. I'll call the meeting to order. I believe Councilor McLean had a request for an adjustment in the agenda.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I move that we amend the agenda to talk about item 7.2 prior to 7.1, please.
All right, and the rest as presented. Okay,
Yes.
all right, very well. Motion on the table. All in favor? Carried unanimously, thank you. Just for the record, I have not heard from Councilor Bruin. I'm still expecting him to be here, but he is not present here at the moment. All right, moving on to public hearings. Item 3.1, public hearing land use bylaw amendment 5-2024 for redistricting. Mr. Orwa.
Thank you very much, Mr. Mayor. I think I would request Selina or Chris and walk council through the amendment, please.
All right, thank you, Selina.
Good afternoon, Mr. Mayor and Council.
Good afternoon.
Our first public hearing today is for Amendment 5-2024. It is to redistrict a property on the south side of town from its current land use, which is the R1 district, so single-family homes, to an R2 district, which is single and two dwelling district, so it's designed for just a little bit more density.
All right, thank you. Any questions arising? Councilor Sorensen.
Hi, thank you, Mayor, and through to administration. So I know at the time that you wrote this report, there wasn't any comments from anyone else, but I just wanted to confirm that there has been no one calling in or sending a letter.
Yes, through Mr. Mayor, Ms. Sorensen. We have not received any written comments on this particular land use bylaw amendment at this time.
All right, again, just to confirm, I will call that public hearing to order and indicate that all members of the public in attendance who wish to speak against or for the land use bylaw amendment 5-2024 for redistricting will have a 5-minute time limit for speaking and must state their name for the record, and also must state if they are speaking for themselves or on behalf of any other group or organization. All right, Celine, so there was none as far as you're aware in any capacity? All right, with that, I would ask then if anyone's here to speak against land use bylaw 5-2024 for redistricting. Ask a second time. Anyone present to speak against that land amendment bylaw? And ask for a third time. Anyone wishing to speak against land amendment bylaw 5-2024? All right, anyone, Selena, that was here to speak for land use 5-2024 for redistricting? No one here wishes to speak for amendment 5-2024 a second time? And anyone here to speak for 5-2024 for redistricting a third and final time? All right. Seeing none. All right, let's ask for a meeting to close the meeting. Councilor Firth. Motion on
close the meeting.
Or the hearing rather, the hearing. Motion on the table, all in favor? Carried unanimously, thank you. All right, now on to item 3.2, public hearing for land use bylaw amendment 6-2024 for redistricting. Mr. Orwa, I understand we have some error to deal with here and are unable to deal with that today, is that correct?
Yes, that's correct. There are some technicalities on the advertisement side, and that's why we are requesting that postponement until it's corrected.
All right, so any questions arising from council? With that, I would ask for a council postponement for the hearing. If someone would make that motion. Councilor McLean.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I move that council postpones the public hearing for land use bylaw amendment 6-2024 for redistricting until the April 2022-2024 council meeting for appropriate advertising to take place.
All right, thank you. Motion on the table. Any further discussion? All in favor? Carried unanimously, thank you. On to item 4, adoption minutes, item 4.1, minutes, regular meeting of council, March 25th, 2024. Mr. Orwa?
Yes, we do have the minutes before council there for consideration, please.
All right, thank you. Any questions arising? Councilor Beckering?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Just like to have a correction on Resolution 110, 2024. 109, pardon me, 2024.
All right.
It said carried unanimously. That's not correct, Mr. Mayor. I know for a fact I voted against it.
All right, can that be adjusted accordingly, Mr. Orwa?
If there's some inconsistency there in the minutes, then we'll just have to make some changes, and within the recommendation, probably we'll have to list and identify those changes with the amendment.
Okay, I think, Councilor Beckering, I think you can do that by way of motion with that correction, correct? Councilor Beckering?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. No, someone can make a motion to accept the agenda as amended, and that should be correct. Motion to approve the minutes as amended.
Okay, very well, all right.
Pardon me, yeah.
Okay. Councilor McLean?
I can do that motion. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I move that we accept the minutes as amended.
All right, thank you. Motion on the table. Any further discussion? All in favor? Carried unanimously. Thank you. Item 5, business arising from minutes. There are none. Item 6, bylaws. Item 6.1, second and third reading for land use bylaw amendment 5-2024 for redistricting. Mr. Orwa.
Yes, I'll call upon again Celine and probably Chris to step forward to answer in maybe if there's any other question on the bylaw, please.
All right, thank you. Selena? Chris, welcome again.
Yes, Mr. Mayor and Council. So we are seeking a second and a third reading for bylaw amendment 5-2024, which was to redistrict the property from an R1 to an R2 to zoning.
All right, thank you. Someone prepared to make the first required motion. Councilor Firth?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I move the council give second reading to bylaw 5-2024 to amend land use bylaw 13-2020 as presented.
All right, thank you. Motion on the table. Any further discussion? All in favor? Carried unanimously. Councilor Renfret?
Next motion, Mr. Mayor.
All right, very well.
I'd like to make a motion that council gives third reading to bylaw 5-2024 to amend land use bylaw 13-2020 as presented.
All right, thank you. Motion on the table. Any further discussion? All in favor? Carried unanimously. Thank you. On to item 6.2, second and third reading land use amendment 6-2024. Also, that is to be postponed as per the original hearing. And ask for someone to make that required motion, please. Councilor Renfret?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I will make the motion that council postpones the proposed second and third reading of land use bylaw amendment 6-2024 for redistricting until the public hearing on this matter, which will take place on April 22nd, 2024, to allow for appropriate advertising and public input.
All right, thank you. Motion on the table. Councilor Firth, you had a question? All right, thank you. Motion on the table. Any further discussion? All in favor? Carried unanimously. Thank you. And on to item 6.3, proposed bylaw 7-2024. Also, an error in that regard. Mr. Orwa?
Yes, Mr. Mayor, I think there was an error there. Not really an error, but I think there's one motion that is missing there. Now, you know, for us to pass a bylaw, every proposed bylaw must have 3 distinct separate readings. And if you look at that resolution that was made by council on February the 26th, it just says adopts the proposed amended as and heritage. Now that administration has brought back the bylaw to go through all the readings, the administration is requesting that we rescind that motion before we go proceed.
All right, very well. Any questions rising, Councilor Firth? All right, okay. All right, someone prepared to make that required motion. Councilor McLean?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I move that council rescinds motion 63-2024 from the February 26, 2024 council meeting, which states, council adopts the proposed amended Arts and Heritage Committee bylaw 7-2024 as presented.
All right, thank you. Motion on the table. All in favor? Carried unanimously. Thank you. Now, this is back on the table related to the 4 required motions. We're going to go forward today with that. Councillor Firth?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'm prepared to make the first motion.
Very well.
I move the council gives first reading to Arts and Heritage Committee Bylaw 7-2024 at this meeting.
All right, thank you. Motion on the table. Any further discussion? All in favor? Carried unanimously. Thank you. Someone prepared to make the second required motion. Councillor McLean?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I move that council give second reading to Arts and Heritage Committee bylaw 7-2024 at this meeting.
Thank you. Motion on the table. Any further discussion? All in favor? Carried unanimously. Thank you. Councillor Renford?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'll make the third motion, that council unanimously agrees to proceed to third and final reading to Arts and Heritage Bylaw 7-2024 at this meeting.
All right, thank you. Motion on the table. Any further discussion? All in favor? Carried unanimously. Thank you. Someone prepared to make the fourth required motion for third reading. Councillor Firth?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I move the council gives third and final reading to Arts and Heritage Committee Bylaw 7-2024 at this meeting.
Thank you. Motion on the table. Any further discussion? All in favor? Carried unanimously. Thank you. Item 7, action items. Item 7.2, if we do the streetlight study first, please, Mr. Roy.
Yes, again, I'll call Mr. Lige is back there, and again, Mr. Egan to come forward and probably walk the council through this. I think this came as a result of some complaints regarding the lack of street lighting. So maybe you'll walk us through. I know you have a long presentation there, but make it short.
All right, well said, Mr. Roy. Thank you.
That's correct.
Mr. Egan, Mr. Luigi, welcome.
Thank you very much, Mayor and Council, and Mr. CEO. We will make this short today. There's actually 2 components in today's presentation: an executive summary, which we'll run through. Mr. Rahman will run through those. That's the first 4 slides. And then there's a full slide deck behind that, which constitutes most of the data summarized into those slides from the comprehensive study that, under the direction of Rahman and his Public Works crews, they spent many a night last summer taking light readings everywhere through the town. Those are reflected in the report. With that information, he was able to produce this summarized version of the lighting study. So there's a couple of options for you today. So the information that we're going to present is our recommendation is provided for information. This is the first time you've seen it. It's a lot of data. There are a lot of options, 3 of which Rahman will present in the executive summary on how you could tackle this problem. And then alternatively, council can do whatever they would prefer to do, which is provide any direction today and or direct administration to bring it forward in some fashion in the 25 capital budget considerations as well. So with that overview, I'd like to thank Rahman and his team for his work and have him provide the executive summary to you.
All right, thank you. Rahman. There you go.
Good afternoon, Mayor and Council.
Good afternoon.
Due to the resident multiple complaint regarding the lack of a street light, Engineering and Public Works collected data to determine if an additional lighting is necessary. Engineering and Public Works concluded the town has a variety of streets and avenues that do not receive a suitable amount of light at night. Underlying issue is not brightness of the lamppost, but rather the lack of street lights and the distance between the current lampposts. The town currently has inconsistent lighting due to the following factors: inconsistent lamppost distance. 40 meters between the lamppost is ideal. Inconsistent lighting is strength. Some have dim lighting. And tree height and placement of the trees. Option one, one-time fixture and the pole replacement. Replace all current lights, fixtures, and additional posts throughout the town at about 40 meters. And the total capital cost, this is estimated at about 3.7 million plus annual operation cost of $350,000. This added light expense is about $35 per month per added light, and additional trimming costing up about $300 per tree every 3 to 5 years. Then the option two is a phased approach. Option 2A, we start with 3 blocks per year. Total cost is about $50,000 per year. Estimated time of completion is about 83 years. This will have 3 additional light poles per block, $15,000 per block times 3, so it would come about $45,000, which is about $105 per month for 3 additional lights. The variable cost here is the tree trimming cost, which is about $300 per tree, and then removal and replanting as necessary, which would be about $2,000 per tree. Option 2B, 10 blocks per year. Total cost is about $162,600 per year. And time of completion, about 25 years. 3 additional light poles per block again, and just as before. The variable cost is the same, and the tree removal and replanting will be the same. Option 3, which is a recommended approach, we recommend adding light posts as needed. We will focus on a limited number of the blocks in the first year, include lighting upgrade in capital projects, upgrade a minimum of 5 blocks each year. Estimated time of completion is about 50 years. We will start in 2025 with 3 blocks in south of Tabor and 2 blocks in the north, an approximate cost of $85,000. Can I answer any questions?
All right, thank you, Raman. Any questions arising? Councillor Firth.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I had a couple of questions for Mr. Lahiji, or Chris. Thank you, Mr. Egan. Just blanked on your last name. If a tree is on private property, whose responsibility is it to trim the tree so that it doesn't impact the street light? Is that the town's responsibility, or would that be the resident's responsibility?
The resident responsibility.
Okay. And are we currently enforcing that? That might be.
I haven't seen it enforced.
Okay.
But it could be a start.
Okay, I'm just thinking that might be a more cost-effective. But I have noticed that there are many streetlights where the tree is just, it's growing, and so it's blocking the light that's getting down to the street level, so. And I just had one
Sure.
more, okay.
You bet.
If we do decide to move forward with any of these, how will you decide which blocks to start with, or which areas?
I have a detailed map that which we produced through walking through, and I would probably start with the worst spots in town, and then we go from there. That's why I have it at so many blocks per north and so many blocks south. So
Okay.
as I said, we have done a lot of work into this, so I have a very detailed map.
I'm sure you have. So, but you do have a method that you'll use to choose which areas. You're not just going to choose it out of a hat.
No. We go through, as I said, we have a look and then we'll come back.
Thank you.
All right, thank you, Councilor Renfro.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Yes, I got a few questions for either you or Chris. This 40 feet, like in our new developments, like for Westview, are we using that 40 feet, like so that, like you have like 25 years, we just gotta catch up to that project? Is that where we're at now? Okay.
Yeah, it's the modern standard.
Okay, so okay. One other thing is, were you getting more residential complaints or more complaints from commercial, like downtown? Like were more people complaining about around their house or maybe around their business?
The people that actually contacted me, they were residents.
More around there,
Correct.
right? Okay. And I guess the other one, I guess more for you, Chris. Like infrastructure, sidewalks, roads, lighting, etc. Where would you put lighting, in your opinion? Like to use, like all money, all infrastructure needs to be done.
Yeah.
But do you put it behind roads, sidewalks? Where do you put it in your? What do you think?
I would group them with the roads and the sidewalks as sort of a tax-supported infrastructure component. And linked to all of those is the reason why we have the vast majority of those things is for safety reasons.
But priority-wise, would you say it's better to go into the roads if they were like where would you put lighting in your priority?
That would depend on the location and the condition of the other two linear assets. The one thing I would say is when we're, for example, we're doing 41st Avenue, council approved a project to do the underground,
Yep.
which will require us to renew sidewalks and pavement. And we would suggest any time that we would be doing a project like that, and we'll be coming
Okay.
forward with those, that we would include lighting as part of the scope
Okay.
of the work of that project. And then we'd also could come forward in the annual capital plan, and Raman would, just like he does with sidewalk replacements and patching and planing and repaving, suggest that these are the areas we'd like to do, and we would suggest a budget of X, just same as we do for sidewalks and asphalt. The other option is to create a long-term plan, like a 10-year plan, where council would say we will fund that plan at $1 million a year for 10 years. And then we would come back not with a budget request, but to tell you what we were planning to do with that particular amount of money. So there's different ways that you could approach this as a council. In the initial work, your question is a good one because there's a lot of variables and there's a lot of other priorities.
Yeah.
Typically, we would make a recommendation, but we would look to council to set the priorities.
But I
From
guess
the
doing them all and I guess the way you're looking at it, rather than just say, hey, we'll just do all the lighting. If we're doing tearing up the road, we'll do the sidewalks there and do the lighting, so we can kind of hit them all at once. So it can kind of
That's the
tie
most economical way of
yeah,
tackling
to
it,
look at it that way.
and the least disruptive to the neighborhood, is to do all that work at the same time.
And thanks for doing the lighting. Like one thing, not many people have brought up things that they're upset about in town since I've been on council, but lighting was brought up, and I did notice it is an issue. So thanks a lot.
All right, thank you. Councilor Becker?
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Mayor. Thank you, gentlemen. Thank you, especially Raymond, for that extensive report, and you're walking 250 blocks, I figured out. That's a lot of blocks. I have a question, I guess, regarding the three main components of inconsistent lighting, which is the width of the 40 meters, not 40 feet, Councilor Mumford. And the tree height and placement, to me, that's not a huge deal. But inconsistent lighting, strength of dim lighting, what causes that? Just bad bulbs, or is it, can you just stick a new bulb in there and not spend any money, or how can you do this?
So in the past, the type of lighting, if you used a high-pressure sodium light, that light would degrade over time and the number of hours on it. The modern heads with the LEDs are very consistent up to the point where they just simply fail. But they also have a very long life, and they're very economical as far as operating costs go. So many of those kind of concerns are now, technology has overtaken them.
Thank you. As a follow-up, Mr.
Sure,
Mayor,
you
then
bet.
are
Yep.
you replacing bulbs that are dim?
The bulbs that they are dim, they've been reported to Fortis, but that's not the main problem. Yeah, it is one of the problem, yes. It's one of the problem that we found. And it's like, even if you brighten that as much as you can, when the tree is sitting right next to it, it will not go anywhere. Or the distance is not, the distance again will play a factor to it also.
All right, thank you. Councillor Bruin?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I think we really started to notice this about 4 years ago when they changed all our lights. A money-saving deal we did, but now we found after that, they weren't as bright as we expected them to be. So Fortis, I think we did most of the town then with the LED lights. And that's when I started hearing most of the concerns then. Like the lights just not as bright as it used to be. And we get this complaint every winter when the days are shorter and people are driving more in the dark. And, but I think a big problem was we put the wrong size light bulbs in when Forestry did it. Like they weren't as bright as the old light bulbs and people noticed.
All right, thank you. Councillor Sorensen?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, and I think it's just important that we note the safety of our citizens and kind of put that as a priority. I'm not sure if people aren't complaining of a certain neighborhood, you know, maybe don't fix that one yet. Do it kind of complaint driven. I'm not sure how you would approach this other than, you know, you're monitoring, you're assessing, but can you also take that into account of who's actually filing the complaints?
So complaints would be one potential trigger. Another potential trigger would come from SEPTED, things that come from Taber Police Services. If they're seeing certain activity in certain neighborhoods, light is a very big component of dissuading people to do things they shouldn't if they can be seen and observed. And so, so generally the goal would be over a period of time, bringing all of the town up to the current standard, and then trying to select with whatever dollars. It's a lot of infrastructure and it's a lot of money, and so we will do the best we can in the most likely areas that would do the best and most good. Complaints being one of the drivers that would draw our attention to it. Raman he now has that extensive map. He knows where everything is and all the foot candles of everything. So we can correlate that as one other factor for sure. I'm assuming that if everyone was listening to the meeting, then we'd have 1,000 complaints, and the solution would be the $3.7 million solution all in 1 year. But for sure, there are certain areas that were built to a certain standard at that time, and now need to be raised to the new standard that you see in the more modern subdivisions.
Can I
All right, thank you.
just
Sure.
add to that? So I guess complaint driven would be like theft and, you know, safety. I'm not referring to anything else.
Yeah, theft, vandalism, all those types of crimes of opportunity that people take advantage of.
I think if I recall correctly, the three most prominent locations were the 38th Avenue and 55th Street area on the south side, and then on the north side, both 52nd and 56th Street for the entire length were both major problematic areas for lack of lighting. You probably saw that too, Raman, I think, in your study. And those three areas came up the most, as I recall there. So thanks so much, Roman, for that extensive study and the efforts attached to that. I guess just one question related again to the responsibility for if there are trees that are blocking out lighting or causing lighting concerns. I know the town goes in when it's blocking out a stop sign or something like that. They'll trim those trees. So why would we not? I can't see why we wouldn't do that with the lighting areas. that's also on town property, right? So to me, that falls under the town's responsibility.
So so we look after everything from the property line, which is actually, like if you look at your normal home, the sidewalk is definitely on town property, and if you can find the curb stop for your water to your house, that is typically right on the edge of town property, which is normally 5 or 6 feet into people's lawns. People maintain the grass. They're required to do that by bylaw, actually out to the center of the street. But by and large, there's about 17,000 trees in the boulevards of town, and those trees are competing with light standards. And so the vast majority of trees that would be interfering with the actual lights are town trees. On the occasion
Right,
that a residence tree is, they placed it in a certain spot that it would be interfering, then I'm sure there's a process of going on to someone's private property and doctoring their tree, but it wouldn't be a simple, straightforward one. It also would be the 1%. The 99% are definitely the town.
Yeah, I'm just wondering, Mr. Egan, if we would actually undertake some of that tree trimming if they are on the boulevard, as example, and causing trouble. I don't remember that coming up before.
Oh.
But if that's I mean, it's obviously problematic. Robin's found that.
So
But would we,
Absolutely.
undertake that kind of requirement?
absolutely, Raman's team, one of his staff has a certification as an arborist. We have a bucket truck, and what you'll notice is town vehicles out. We typically will do it in downtime during the winter, and then it's a little bit more planned in the summertime. But with that number of trees and one truck, we have a finite capacity, and so we will contract out as well in certain circumstances to augment our capacities. But
Okay.
it's definitely part of the program.
Great, thank you. Councillor Beckering.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I can see now why we switched 7.1 with 7.2.
Yeah,
I'm prepared to make a motion, Mr.
Very well.
I motion that council direct administration to go with the recommended option 3 in the amount of $85,000 to be funded from the 2024 capital reserves.
All right, thank you. Motion on the table. Any further discussion? All in favor? Carried unanimously. Thank you. All right, any other questions for Raman or Chris related to anything related to the study? All right, thank you so much. All right, on to item 7.1. 2024 amended capital budget. Mr. Orwa.
Thank you very much, Mr. Mayor. So we have, before you here is the amended capital budget. And now that we've discussed the other one, that is the street lighting, then probably we'll have to modify this particular one to include the street lighting. Having said that, the only thing that makes me smile from time to time is when I see additional funds come through. Now, you can see LGFF, depending on the allocation and the methodology that they're now using, we managed to get some additional funding. So now we have about 1.2 million as opposed to 851,000, which we had last year. Now, what again is interesting is they have also projected 2025 numbers as well. And I think when you look at the 2025 numbers, we are getting another additional 175,000. So we'll be getting about 1.4 million next year. So that gives us, enough time to plan ahead with the funding. So that is good. Now, with the additions that we had about 382,000, and we've listed how we've allocated those funds out there. There was an outcry on the asphalt milling anomaly from Public Works and Surface Works, and I think they are now funded, which I'm not sure, talking to Mr. Egan, that might not even be enough, but that's what we have for now. Unless Mr. Egan, I'm far from the truth, but I think with the projected numbers and the estimates that I saw, we are close, but at least they still need more there. And then part of it, Recreation also had a new proposed project, that is Aquafan Secondary Disinfection System, which they also would like to include in the capital budget. So the difference we allocated to the fire that is on the pumper truck. By doing that, we are just reducing funds that is coming from capital reserves. But now that we are also including another 85,000, then for sure we are going to amend the capital budget. So that is what we have for 2024. There's just one thing that I wanted to share with council. I don't know whether you'll be able to see. This is how, I touched this one here from the province. This is how they have allocated funds. Because originally, remember, they used to have only population as the base per capita, but they changed the methodology from population. They look at the tangible capital assets. They look at the length of roads. So based on that, you can now see the more the public works extend our roads, the more money we're going to get in the future. And I think I'm really on Mr. Egan's neck to lengthen the roads. You can see Tabor there, we have 1.33, and next year they've already shown us exactly what we're going to get. And I think that is very, very important. But the big players with, more in terms of population, in terms of length of roads, you can see how much they're getting, like the city of Lethbridge, not Lethbridge, but Calgary, Edmonton, 223 million. I'm hoping that one day we will also get there. So basically, that is what we have for capital, unless maybe you have some questions.
All right, thank you, Councillor Beckering.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Mayor. Thank you, Mr. Orwa. Since you brought it up, sir, I want to just mention to council that the local government fiscal framework, which replaced the MSI, is vastly different as a disadvantage to smaller communities. And in particular, municipal governments that are not MDs and counties. If I remember correctly, the last MSI agreement, which lasted for 10 years, was 2% of roads counted in the fiscal arrangement. This time, it's 4%. It's highly unfair, and I just want to state that comment publicly.
All right, thank you. Councillor McLean?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I had a question about the Aquafun, the secondary disinfectant system. On the impact of future operating costs, there were two sentences, and I just had questions on both. I'm just curious of how much, by replacing this new system, how much it will reduce future repair costs, and secondly, talking about future operating budget implications, how much will the future operating budget implications be?
I would request Mr. Martin to maybe respond to that question.
Your first question about how much it'll reduce?
Like
Is that what
downtime and repair costs? Yes, it says like it will reduce
it's
it
not
by-
working at all, so.
Oh, okay.
It works for maybe a week at a time, and then something else breaks. So
Right.
it's well past its operational life. We're limping along just using more of our regular, our primary salt system, which doesn't disinfect to the same degree as if we have the ozone operating. So it's not working at all right now.
Okay, and just second question, then how much future operating budget implications is there by doing this new system?
It reduces our salt consumption because we don't need as much of our primary disinfectant, and then the repair costs. Sorry, I'm not actually crying. I was choking. Yeah, so it reduces our cost of repairs because the parts in the ozone system are quite expensive parts. Little tiny compressors and things inside that go on a regular basis. So we'll be, with the new system, we'll be up to date, and we'll be able to buy the new products off the shelf instead of waiting on back orders for old replacement parts that, for an old system that just isn't manufactured anymore,
Okay, thank you.
if that makes sense.
All right, thank you. Councillor Sorensen?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. And just to comment, because I sit on the rec board, we just have full programming. You know, this pool is well used. We were just saying how important it is to maintain this. So I think it's an essential repair. So I just would be in favor of covering this cost.
All right, thank you. Councillor Firth?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I just had a question for Mr. Orwa. It says administration has adjusted the CCBF funding. Can you tell me what that stands for?
That is the former federal gas tax. This is Canadian Community Building Fund. So up to now, the numbers that you see out there is what we had in 2023. They've not given us the number for 2024. Now, if at all we get something, again, more than what we have now, then we'll have to, again, make sure that we utilize those funds before we get into the reserves. But the Canadian Community Building Fund replaces the former federal gas tax.
All right, thank you. Any other questions arising? All right. Councilor McLean?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I am prepared to make a motion that council approves the 2024 amended capital budget funding as listed and also to include the streetlight study funding.
All right. Thank you. Motion on the table. Any further discussion? All in favor? Carried unanimously. Thank you. On to item 7.3, information for council. Mr. Orwa.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Mayor. We do have two items here, and one of them comes, that is resolution number 105, 2024, which of course, in response to the standing item, and I would request Mr. Egan to comment or to give council some information regarding this.
Yes, so this, thank you, Mayor and Council. This is, the information item provided is in response to the standing item 105, 2024, the question about parking signs. The signs do exist, and we were just waiting for the weather to break, basically the frost to come out of the ground to add some additional signs that were already planned to go in, and we're hoping that that will address the issue that you raised and the errant parking that takes place there occasionally.
All right, thank you. Councilor Sorensen.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, and thank you, Mr. Egan. I'll notify that neighbor, and I'm sure they'll be happy to hear that. Thank you.
Great, thank you. Any other questions arising? All right, Councilor Sorensen.
If resolution 109/2024 is up for discussion.
Yes, that's going to be the next one, but I'll just...
No, sorry.
That's going to be the next one. If we are satisfied with resolution 105, if there are no further questions, then I would request Mr. Egan to proceed with the next one. But I would like to make a comment there. I think it's a typo there. It's not 109. It should be 107, because 107 is what is referenced in the standing item.
Okay.
So, Mr. Egan, just proceed. I think on your standing item, you're holding it's 107. Thank you.
Thank you. So this information item, as Mr. Orwa mentioned, is as a response to standing item 107, 2024, regarding the question of how the stormwater management base rate fees are established. These are fixed fees. And they're calculated and put into the fee bylaw, which comes before council each year. And so any modifications are in that fee bylaw. So these numbers come from the previously approved fee bylaw for 2024. And in general, they're there to address the day-to-day operating costs associated with the systems. And so this would be materials and supplies, sub-trades that are purchased so that we can actually produce in case of the water and run the wastewater treatment plant. In addition to those, of course, there's consumption costs for those people who use more or less water, and that's specifically, that's another operating cost, and in order to fairly proportion between the two types of activities. So if someone wants to use a lot of water, they pay proportionally a little bit more money than someone who doesn't, but still wants access to that particular system.
All right, thank you, Councilor Beckert.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Mayor. Mr. Egan, the stormwater management fee has nothing to do with the volume of water, does it?
Not directly. It's not metered or anything
No,
like that.
but I mean, how do you judge the volume of water I don't quite understand your reasoning there.
Right, so we have, so it's calculated based on the operating budget assigned to that section of work, which is within Public Works. And so we have 3 staff, for example, that have on a portion of their salary costs that are linked to that particular work. We've got maintenance work that Public Works crew does on ditches and replaces culverts, things like that. So all those kind of costs end up in their annual operating budget requests and then are used to calculate working towards calculating the comparable offsetting cost, which is what you see. So we're not quite there yet. Council had previously approved a 5-year plan to rationalize the utility costs, of which stormwater is one, so that they become revenue neutral. So, but costs are recovered through the utility rates. And so we're in the middle of that process now. That's another factor, I guess, that's used to make those adjustments.
All right, thank you, Councilor Bickering. You bet.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Mayor. Yeah, thank you, Mr. Egan. But good answer or good explanation, I guess. But I still maintain that no one is charged a monthly fee because of volume of water.
No.
It's just an averaging out of your costs internally. That's how you base your $12.73 per month for residents. Your actual input, the actual cost, right?
Yes.
So you try to make it revenue neutral. So why are you saying that has something to do with the flow of water? Because it doesn't.
So I guess I was referring to water supply, potable water supply. That system is linked to the costs to sewer. Those two are linked together.
Yeah.
The stormwater is not.
No, that's correct.
So I was providing a more general answer. I'm sorry I
Yeah.
misdirected you there.
Okay, thank you.
All right, thank you. Any other questions arising? All right.
Just to add to what Mr. Egan has just mentioned, remember, if I take you back to 2022, we did have a utility model developed by the administration. So you'll be seeing, based on what is just explained, you'll be seeing some additional minor cost added to that flat fee over time until it becomes cost neutral. And that's going to be spread over 5 years.
All right, thank you, Mr. Roy. Right, no other questions arising. Councilor Sorensen?
Sorry. So I'm a bit confused. Is this a new charge or has it been always on the utility statement and we're just adding a few more fees to it?
I think it is something that has been on your utility fees. If you look at in the past, you'll see storm there, and then you'll see a flat fee. So what we're adding, we're just adding minor cost to it we want to see in the next 5 years if it will be cost neutral. Because remember, when we carried out that study, we realized that it's only water that was making money. The rest of the utilities it was just being supplemented by water. Now, it's a cost that has been there over time. We're just adding minor increases to it until it becomes cost neutral.
All right, Councilor Sorensen?
So thank you, Mr. Mayor, and I think that type of statement's a bit worrisome as we're having concerned citizens already contacting us about our utilities. So I think we have to be mindful, and I'm not throwing this at you right now, but I think as council, we should be mindful as how much we're increasing to everybody's monthly statement. So, yeah.
All right,
Thank you for the explanation.
All right. All right, no motion required on this one then. Moving on to item 7.4, Canadian Pacific Railway Crossing Upgrade. Mr. Orwa.
Thank you very much, Mr. Mayor. Again, it's Mr. Egan still on the hot seat, and I believe, and Ramin again.
Thank you very much, Mayor and Council. So before you today is a request for funding that comes from, originally comes from Canadian Pacific Railroad. So CP Rail have a right-of-way that's federally granted, and along with that right-of-way, that gives them permission to do basically whatever they want. We partner with them in where we have road crossings of the railroad. The fundamental construct is they do the maintenance. We're really not allowed to do work inside of their right-of-way. So they do the maintenance and they do capital upgrades, et cetera, in order to maintain the safety, which is set by Transport Canada and the industry. And then we pay a 50% proportion of whatever those costs they incur at all of the crossings within the town boundaries. This is pretty typical. All towns, the municipalities do the same thing where there are crossings of municipal roads. CP does the same thing. So what we've got before you today is a specific request where CP Rail is planning to do an upgrade. They've noticed a safety issue at the crossing at 50th. They've done their engineering work and produced an estimate of their costs, which is the $166,852. Our share of that at 50% is about $85,000. And so they propose to do the work in 2024. And when they do that work, they would send us an invoice for the actual 50% of the actual cost of the work. The other thing we wanted to bring to light was they will be applying, along with the town, for a grant, which would reduce from Transport Canada, that will reduce the overall cost from $166,000 down to about half. If that occurs, then we would see our share drop by half of that grant as well. So the request today is for council to approve the project, which is really funding of the $166,000 in the full amount, the $85,000, and then if the grant, administration will pursue the grant with CP Rail, and if that comes through, you will only see a cost of approximately $40,000 to $45,000. And then we'll report back on that at a future date.
All right. Thank you, Councilor Bruin.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. What if we say no? It seems like these guys, they put the lights up, they didn't put the proper one up. It's cantilever. Not sure what light it is, but we have no choice with CPR. They say we do.
It's, yes, to answer your question, they will bring the crossing up to their safety standards, and then they will send us an invoice, which is the nature of the relationship with them.
Yeah, they're
So we
kinda,
rely on their expertise in that area, which we don't have, and we rely on their
from God's lip
contracting.
to theirs, and they pass it on to us.
Yeah. They do, of course, while the work is the work happens in the right-of-way where trains go back and forth, and so they have to do scheduling to ensure that the crews are safe and all, things that we just can't perform. We don't
No,
have the expertise.
I realize we really have no say. They do what they're going to do. I was just looking at their code here, and I had a question on this. We probably can't answer it, but under their code, if you go down a page on the screen there, down, right there. If you look under labor, what is labor statutory leave?
I'm guessing, but I'm assuming that that would be the statutory holiday pay linked to the labor. So they've got a net labor cost there, and then they're adding things like benefits and other costs. It's the way they estimate it.
That's quite a way to estimate things. It's just the way they break it down is very interesting. Like
Yes.
their supervision, administration in general, that's broken down at 18,000. It's I have no more comment on it. I just think that they should take some responsibility for light that isn't quite up to standards that they put in.
And just make one clarification. You said, quote, this is actually, just to be certain, this is an estimate that they provide, and so these are
That's what scares me.
this is not the actual cost.
Right.
They may get better pricing or worse pricing on their subtrades and on their supply of the components.
Depends what statutory holidays they take.
Correct.
All right. Councilor McLean?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. So what exactly is wrong with the crossing? Do you know? Like, it just looks fine to me. I didn't realize that we had an issue with this crossing.
So my reading of it in general is that standards have changed a bit since the crossing was installed.
Right.
The safety people from CP have recognized that what was done in the past does not meet the current standard, and they're now proposing a process to bring it to the current standard. And it's mostly related to pedestrian.
Right. I just have a follow-up then. There are other communities that choose not to have crossings. And so I'm wondering then, I understand that they feel like there needs to be an increase in this or an upgrade to this. But at the same time, do we feel like there needs to be an increase of, an upgrade? I don't know. And because there are other communities that have railroad crossings through roads that have no arms on them. And so I'm wondering then, how do they get away with it? And we have no choice in this matter then.
Yeah. So just like, I guess I'd use an analogy of the building code. Their safety code they'd have different types of crossings at different intersections. From no crossing allowed, in other words, you must build an overpass, to a completely uncontrolled crossing
Right.
on a grid road, which it would have very infrequent traffic and everything in betwixt and between. And so they would have done an analysis on our intersection at 50th, basically traffic load and the adjacency to Highway 3, and them being the experts on applying that standard. That's what's driving them to come to us and say, we need to work together in partnership to upgrade this crossing to the modern standards, and we'll do it, and here's the cost associated with it.
Just one more thing,
Sure.
sorry. It's interesting because Colehurst, right beside the CP yard, doesn't have a controlled crossing, even though they have a very busy intersection right there. And there's a million not a million, but a lot of trains coming and going from that yard. And Colehurst chooses not to have a crossing there. But it's just an interesting thing to me. I mean, I get it, that's fine, but I just think it's interesting that some can not have it and we are forced to have an upgrade, but it's all good. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Councillor Beckering.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I just want to follow up, and I can appreciate Councilor Bruin's comment, because I echo that, because I had some indications and some business with CPR a long, long time ago regarding the crossing by the police station there. It was just a disaster. I question their estimate. It's their estimate. We pay 50%. We cannot question their estimate. If it comes in at $10,000 higher, we got to pay. And they can rationalize it, of course, by saying, well, we got to pay some stat pay here, or, it's just ridiculous. But, CP is king, and we're the subject, so I just want to make that comment. I think it's hard to negotiate with CPR. Well, it's almost impossible, actually.
Yeah. All right, thank you, Councillor Sorensen.
So a lot of unhappy people, but I'd be prepared to make a motion.
All right, very well.
I make a motion that council supports Canadian Pacific Railway in their project upgrades for the 50th Street crossing at an estimated shared cost of $85,000, with funds to come from capital reserves.
All right, thank you. Motion on the table. Any further discussion? All in favor? Carried unanimously. Thank you. Oh, sorry. All right, that's carried. All right. On to item 7.5, dissemination of information materials. Mr. Orwa.
Yes, we have this policy ADM-9 before you, and this is just part of housekeeping coming up for renewal. And I would request Ms. Vanham to present this one.
All right, thank you, Ms. Van Ham.
Thank you, Mr. Orwa, and good afternoon, Council. Yes, Mr. Orwa was correct, is coming up for the 3-year renewal. We noted that there was stipulation in the procedure for personal and confidential mail addressed directly to Council, but we thought it was more appropriate to put it into the policy when we looked at it, so Council is the only one that can actually change that if you see fit. So it's before you for
All right, thank you.
consideration.
Councillor Bruin.
I'm prepared to make the motion that council approves the dissemination of information materials policy ADM-9 as presented.
All right, thank you. Motion on the table. Any further discussion? All in favor? Carried unanimously. Thank you. Item 7.6, standard item, council requests. Mr. Orwa.
Standing items that we have. And I think, I believe, following our discussion today, some of them might fall off if council is satisfied. Now, the first one, I believe, is still in progress. That is on the traffic. The second one, again, I've been notified that one is still in progress. And then the third one, this is on the recreation side. Again, that was also in progress, unless maybe something came up, but I believe that is still in progress. Now, the next one, 54-2024, I believe that is the next utility bills. That one probably I'll defer to closed because there's an item on closed. There's an item on closed that we will discuss that one. So I'll put a question mark on that one.
All right, Councilor Becker, you had a question? Okay. No, you bet, no trouble.
And then the next one, this one was put forward by Councillor Firth, I believe, for planning. That's also in progress. And the next one is about the parking, which was explained by Mr. Egan. I believe if everything is okay, that one falls off. Thank you. And then the next one, this is to do with the police commission, and I think the police had been notified, and I think that's also in progress, and when they're ready, they'll be coming to council. The next one, I believe also has been explained today, that is on the storm, the calculation there, how we get to stormwater. And I think if council is satisfied, that will also fall off. So now I would turn it over back to council if maybe there's anything that they would like to bring forward.
All right, thank you, Mr. Raw. Any new standing item council requests? Councilor Sorensen.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Just during coffee with council, someone brought up a problem area of geese around the Westview Estates pond. Seems to be that there's more and more nesting there and more feces, and it gets to be maybe a public hazard. And so perhaps I was wondering if there's interest of creating a wildlife bylaw in regards to how we would control these certain situations. So I'd be prepared to make a motion.
All right.
If that's all right. I'd like administration to make a motion that administration investigate and propose a wildlife bylaw and report back to council.
All right, yeah.
Mr. Vanham just had a comment there, maybe.
I think we're in need of some specifics in the motion.
Yes, thank you, Mayor and Council. I would request that you detail some specifics in your motion so that we can follow the trail.
Specifics as to, sorry,
Well,
animals.
I think more about what you talked
Geese.
about, the geese and the,
Okay, geese, and then
Trouble
there was
test, yeah.
also incident or report for raccoons. So perhaps that could be another wildlife that could be addressed. Is that enough information? No.
So I would repeat council's motion back to council. Councilor Sorensen is requesting that administration investigates and proposes a wildlife bylaw related to geese and an incident for raccoons.
Well,
Councillor
not
Sorensen.
incident, but, and raccoon control. Thank you.
all right, Councilor Bruin, you had a question also, or comment?
Well, just, I'm trying to think of the bylaws. I thought we did have something that we discussed that last year over the raccoons. Because we had that issue on the south side, I believe. But I'm not sure if we did do a bylaw there. And the geese are a problem, but we should investigate a way to stop them pooping.
All right, we do have a motion on the table. Any further discussion? All in favor? Carried unanimously, thank you. Any other standing item council requests? All right, with that, I'd ask for motion to move into the meal break for 5 o'clock delegation. Thank you. A motion on the table by Councilor Becker, all in favor? Carried unanimously, thank you. All right, if we could reconvene the meeting, please, and on with our delegations. Item 8.1, delegation Tabor Rugby Athletes. Mr. Orwa.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I think our first delegation is the rugby athletes, and I think there's some request for funding. And I believe Ms. Erickson is here to present with the team. I believe each and every one of you will have a turn to speak to council. Proceed, please.
All right, thank you. You could either stand or sit if you like, but just need to activate the mic there. There we go.
Hi, thank you for having us here. My name is Josme Erickson, and I have 4 daughters that plays rugby, and we wanted to keep rugby alive in our community, and we kind of come up the way we could do that as incentive, because trying to get the girls to play at international level. So last year, after they won provincials, we've decided we are going to have a trip to go to New Zealand, because New Zealand, as you know, they are the capital of rugby, and they have the all-black team, so we figured we're gonna try to do the impossible. But we couldn't have done it if the girls didn't help. So we decided we wanted to have the girls work for the trip instead of asking businesses around town to donate money towards us. And I figured, you know, they probably curse at me behind my back, but we've made them work really hard. And I remember Joanne had her kids before, like few years before my kids, and I kind of like asked her, you know, what could we do to make this trip possible. So she was actually our first sponsor when I told her I'm gonna make the girls work for what they need. So I figured, you know, because we're representing our community in our town, and after all the work we've done, we're short a little bit of money, so we could ask you guys if you could help us reach our goals, and who is better than me to explain to you what we've been doing other than the players themselves? Girls.
Hello, I am one of the daughters that Miss Erickson has playing on the team. We've had lots of different jobs that we've been doing. Most of them were like from the farmers. So we did corn at the very beginning, and we'd husk the corn and bag the corn. And the one that my mom says we were cursing her about is silage. We had to tarp the silage piles and throw the tires, and there were a lot of dead animals and a lot of live animals. And then after we'd all hang out, and it was super fun. And then we also had bagging the silage, and that one was worse because it was really stinky, and it was just, there was mice everywhere. But we all have fun whenever we get together and we go to these events to work for our money, because we know that we're putting in all of this effort to gain our trip. And once we get on this trip, it's going to be like the best thing ever, because we know we worked really, really hard to be there. And we get to play a bunch of games against these New Zealand teams, and it'll strengthen us as a team. And I mean, we won't be able to play anymore because we're seniors, and they wanted to make this trip so that the younger kids will see and be like, oh, I want to go on a rugby trip when I play in rugby. So that's what we're doing.
All right, thank you.
My name's Abby Abella, and I've been playing rugby for 3 years. And after we did silage, we moved on to Cornfest. So for Cornfest, we decided that we were going to help clean up and clean everything. We've probably scrubbed every single porta potty you could imagine in the town of Tabor. We scrubbed and scrubbed. We also did garbages and recycling. And as a team, I don't think anything bonds you more than scrubbing a porta potty. We decided to divide and conquer, and we, like, everybody was happy at Cornfest. We have no complaints about the bathrooms. So as a team, going to New Zealand would be one of the, like, biggest things for us. as seniors, we're almost on our journey of playing rugby. Lots of us have gone on and played for other teams, but as like seniors who have grown up together, it would be so wonderful and just impactful for us to be able to go to a different country and represent the town of Tabor internationally. We wouldn't just be representing the rugby team, the Tabor Rugby Club. We would be representing the town of Tabor on an international level, and I think that would be just wonderful to gain exposure and everything. So thank you.
Thank you.
My name's Chloe Johnson, and after we did Cornfest, well, we've kind of been doing banquets the whole year, but we've done, we're going to do one for the police ball, and we've done one for the hockey teams and the football teams, and we've done one for TCAPs. So we've done a lot of banquets, but we've set up the banquets, and we've cooked for the banquets, and we've cleaned for the banquets and taken down everything. So it's just been a lot of cooking, cleaning, and staying late night, like a lot. We stayed a lot of time at the banquets. So there was one night where I got home at 1 a.m, but it was worth it because it was a lot of hard work. But it was cool to see how it's not only just like to work for what we have, but it's also like learn new skills. So we haven't just been doing these, we have been doing it for hard work and to gain money, but it's also been cool to see how we can work as a team and also that we can learn new skills. And rugby to me means a lot and a lot to my team, but also it makes a name for ourselves, so it can get a lot of people considering playing for Tabor Rugby from all around. And yeah.
All right, thank you.
I'm Madison O'Connor, and I've had the opportunity to play for like multiple teams, and I think that rugby like connects people on a different level, and like having the opportunity to work for this trip has been so much better than just like paying for it, because we've like gained experience and we've bonded as a team. And I think that rugby just like it's such a cool sport where it just like brings people together, and you're just like there for each other, and everyone has a spot on the team. And I think it's important that people know like rugby is like inclusive, and we don't want to like leave anyone out. And so I think all the work we've done has like paid off, and we've gained so much experience. So I just want to thank you for your consideration, and this trip means so much to me.
All right, thank you very much for your presentation. Councillor Beckering.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Mayor. Thank you, Josie, for making the presentation. The young ladies there also, good job. I guess I'd like to ask you, because it's going to cost $175,000 approximately, how many athletes are involved here and how many parents, please? Can you give me those numbers?
We have 19 players. We have 19 players going.
Okay.
And we have 5 chaperones and then some parents, and the parents covered their own shares.
Okay, thank you. Follow up, Mr. Mayor.
Very well, you bet.
$175,000 divided by 19 players, let's say 20. That's still a lot of money.
Yes, and we have raised
I
$107,000
know,
already.
I know that. Yeah, thank you.
You're welcome.
All right, thank you. Any other questions arising? Councillor Sorensen?
Just a comment, I guess. Thank you, ladies, for your presentation. It kind of hits personally because my daughter did play rugby, and she was fortunate enough to go to Wales when she was playing. So that was quite an experience. Oh. And it's popping up on my memories. So yeah, you guys will just have a time of your life, and I hope you really enjoy it and also kick some butt when you're over there. And again, like there's huge opportunities for this for you ladies moving forward too. So congratulations and all the best.
All right, thank you, Councillor Broom.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Thank you, ladies, for the fantastic presentation. It's really good to see you guys are out there working hard to make this trip happen. Very impressive, $107,000 in a year. Is it less than a year? Are you still actively fundraising? So that's good. There's still a chance you'll make that. I'm all in favor of helping you out somewhat. but that's a decision the council has to make. But I think it's great that we can send a team from Tabor to New Zealand. So after a little discussion, we can see what we're going to do.
All right, and I'd like to reiterate also, thank you, ladies, for your presentation. Very well done. And I love to see the passion that's in all of you with how you presented today and what rugby means and what rugby's all about, and the sport involved, and representing Tabor and Canada internationally would be great. And I credit you for all the efforts thus far with all your fundraising efforts. And it's a lot of work, and but it's all for a great cause, and all the best to you in the future as well. You're welcome. Councillor Beckering.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Mayor. Just as a follow-up, you have 19 participants, athlete participants. How many of those are from the town of Tabor, please?
We have 15 of them from Tabor. And then we have 3 of them from Barnwell. And then we have 1 from Stettler. And then we have 1 from McGrath.
Follow up, Mr. Mayor?
You bet.
15 from the town or from the MD and town?
MD and town.
Do you know the proportion? Do you know the proportion?
They're all, we go by the school because all of them, like there's 17 of them that goes to Myers. So I would have to look at all the address to tell you where they live, but we consider them like 17 of them are from Tabor.
Sure.
Thank you, Josie. Have you approached the MD of Tabor Council for possible participation in this project?
No, we haven't. The plan was we were gonna work hard ourselves, you know. That's what we've been doing with the girls. But with the farmers and the snow, the last snowstorm kind of like put us back to get, you know, we only need $10,000 left to fundraise. So the last snowstorm kind of like pushed us back because like we had our last payment is April 22nd. So the rest of the fundraisers we have is after April 22nd. So we're just working towards that. So we haven't asked the MD of Tabor, and yes, we will ask them.
Sure, thank you. Councillor Bruin.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Sorry. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. You say 20 players? 19, 20, close enough. It's easier math if I do it my way. I would propose that we donate $100 per player for a grand total of $2,000 to the trip. And I'd be prepared to make a motion for that. That council could approve the financial request of the Tabor rugby athletes in the amount of $2,000 to assist with expenses for the team trip to New Zealand from June 29th, 24 to July 10th, 2024 from the 2024 Councilor Discretionary Fund.
All right. Thank you. Motion on the table. Any further discussion? All in favor? Carried unanimously. Great. Thank you.
Good luck. You guys better win. Hey, I know there's a feedlot guy here that probably needs some help cleaning bunks or something. Come on, shovel bunks.
All right, thank you. On to item 8.2, request for funding support. Tabor Golf Club, Mr. Roy.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. So the second one, again, another funding request, and this is from Tabor Golf Club, and I believe Mr. Yimpa is here to present.
All right, Mr. Yipman, welcome. Hello. It is now.
Yeah, so I'm here for the Tabor Golf Course today. I don't know why, but they voted me as chairman. So, and I had like 5 guys with me, and they all bailed. So now I'm here. No, we're upgrading the golf course and trying to fix it up for the town, and we're putting for fixing up on the washrooms along the walking path. I don't know if it was up there. We got quoted $34,000. We had 2 quotes, and we went with Venture Holdings. Their one worked the best. But we're going to upgrade the 2 washrooms along the walk path. Now, we know it's mostly used by the golf course, but there's a lot of people walking along the golf course and along the path, and they walk back up in there and use the washrooms. And it's been talked about how bad the washrooms are. looking along the walk path. And some of the old guys use both of them as they go. So we just thought that we'd come and see if there's a chance that maybe the town would help out a portion of our renovation job. So I had wrote in there that it's going to cost $34,000 was the quote, and we were asking if the town would help out at 10, because they said you're not asking for it all, because we obviously the golf course uses it more. And on full disclosure, we have this has come before council a little bit one time, because we did get the community's, whatever that one is, grant. So the town gave $2,000, and we're got the $10,000 or the $8,000 from Community Futures that we're paying back slowly. We got that last year, and now we're moving ahead. If you've seen, they're strapped right now, so we're busy renovating right now. So this is going to happen, but we're hoping that maybe the town, since it's going to help beautify the town and help along the walk path for the town walkers, that maybe they could help out with a portion. And that's all I got. I got no girls. I got no feelings. I got no heartstrings. Just.
All right. Well, thank you so much for your presentation. And thank you for being on your own compared to whoever was supposed to be here with you that happened to bail, like you said.
You can blame it on them if you don't care.
I will.
Any questions arising? Councillor Renfrew.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Going to Keith's comment about the walking path, I was at Coffee from Council, and one guy come in, but all he wants to talk about is how good our path, how much it's used. So it does pull on my heartstrings that it's close to the walking path, and I probably use it as a golfer and probably as a walker, right? Obviously as a golfer you're paying, but so I do see that some of our public is using it that are not golfing. Just for you guys to know, it is being used.
All right. Thank you. Councillor Bruin.
Is it allowed for the public to use it, or they run off if they see them in there?
No,
It's open.
It's open. It's open for the walkers to walk up and use it. That's what it's for.
Okay, no, it's, how many members are in the golf club?
I think we had 100 in between corporates and the regular members. They had 195 last year between corporate memberships and regular memberships.
Okay, thank you.
All right. Thank you. Councillor McLean.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. How long is the bathroom open for? Like the season of the golf course, basically?
So it's pretty much when the irrigation season.
Right.
Because that's when the water's running into there.
Turns
So
on, yeah.
it should be on, and we're hoping to have, I think, irrigation, everything's supposed to start in just the second week of May. And we should have the rentals done by then, and then it's open for the whole season. So.
All right. Just to confirm, this is including several washrooms for renovations and improvement.
There's one towards the west end of the walking path, on holes 3 and 4 of the golf course, but it's right up along the far end west side. And there's a men's and a ladies in there. And then just off like the first hole off of the swimming pool, there's another one. That one's it's only a tee box in, but people do walk across into that one and use that one. So as normal, conscious, because we're golf course people and we don't really make too much money either, we're fixing up the ladies a little nicer than the men's, because men will just pee everywhere anyways. So, but the outside, they're pretty rough shape. The floors have been sagging and seeping, so we're going to level them out so it actually looks like a usable washroom for the public to use.
All right. Great. Thank you. Any other questions arising? Councillor Beckering.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Mayor. Thank you for your presentation, Keith. It is in fact true that the walkers that walk the trail around the golf course do use the bathrooms. There's no doubt about that. And I think it's fair that we contribute somewhat to your renovations, which is $32,000. So you're requesting $10,000. I'm prepared to make a motion to Mr. Mayor.
Sure.
That council approved the financial request from the Tabor Golf Club in the amount of $5,000 to assist with the expenses for the renovation of the exterior bathrooms on the Tabor Golf Course from the operating reserves.
All right, thank you. Motion on the table. Any further discussion? Councilor Beckman?
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Mayor. I would like to perhaps tell Mr. Yitma that in my heart, I like to offer more because you guys are doing a good job there. But we have a thing called Council Discretionary Fund, which is $25,000 that council can use during the year to promote certain projects, such as these. But after tonight's contribution to the rugby club, there's only $4,000 left in the darn thing. And we've got a whole bunch of year left, about 9 months of it. So that's why, Mr. Mayor, my heart says 10,000, but the motion says 5.
All right, okay. All right, we do have a motion on the table. Any further discussion? Councilor Bruin?
Well, Mr. Beckering pulled at my heartstrings there a little bit just because is 5 enough? It is taxpayers' money, but can we do more than that? That's a question I'd like to put to council before we vote.
Have I got one more thing maybe, and it helps. There's I heard through the grapevine that there's doing some asphalt renovations in the town. And the golf course would probably like it to take them tailings to the golf course, which I don't know unless you had somewhere else you wanted to go. I heard that otherwise you haul them out further. If it's local, close, and we can get a loader to push it up, maybe you can save a few bucks and just haul them right to the golf course and we'll take care of them and build our trails. And that'll help from hauling the asphalt tailings out further. So maybe there's an extra $2,000 savings there.
All right, thank you. Councilor Sorensen?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. And there is 4,800 still left in the discretionary fund. So friendly amendment to take 5 from the operating reserve and 4,800 from the discretionary fund. And then we're almost square.
All right, thank you. Councilor Beckman?
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Mayor. Thanks for the friendly amendment, Councilor Sorensen. I have heartstrings, but I've also got a cold heart. I cannot accept that.
All right, thank you. Any other discussion? Councilor Beckman?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Regarding Mr. Yitma's statement regarding the strippings off the asphalt. We've done it before, Mr. Mayor.
Yes.
A couple years ago, I believe. And I think we can do it again if you contact administration. I'm sure you can work something out, sir.
All right, thank you. Do you have a motion on the table? Any further discussion? All in favor? Carried now. Thank you.
Thank you.
If all the other guys are here, you would have got the full 10.
Oh, I'll be telling them. They'll be paying. Thanks, guys.
Yeah. All right, moving on to item 9, media inquiries. Mr. Roy, anything?
No media inquiries today. Thank you.
All right, thank you. With that, ask for a motion to move into closed session then, please. Motion on the table, all in favor?